Aloha. I wanted to share this quick video, and I'm going to play the whole thing so you can listen to, for some of the people who haven't really looked into channelers or any of this new age stuff that exists. But I felt it very important to share this tone, this frequency with people so they can listen to what this new pretty much it's like a new preacher or a new minister is going to look like. It's already been installed in the mainstream frame of thought. But I just listened to this video because it's called Kryon Explains What Extraterrestrials in Our Galaxy Look Like. But it's really about he references common sense. So this common sense shit, and it's like spiritual common sense that he keeps referencing. This common sense is based on the Big Bang theory, the evolution theory, everything that is New Age, everything that is Pleiadian, Orion, Arcturian, all that stuff that is outside of the mainstream right now, but is well within the New Age community. And why I'm sharing this even more so now is because the third part, because it always has to be like three angles. Like, first of all, the first angle is that Kryon has definitely been speaking at the United Nations. So that's one reason why I want you guys to at least see this and see how it fits. So one, he's already at the United Nations, and the United Nations having the flat earth map on their flag. It's very part of the flat earth talk and all this other stuff. Two, channelers are very in the New Age community, and a lot of the information and insight, or whatever they want to call it, comes from channelers as a whole. And this is a good individual to focus on that will give an example of what this whole frequency is about. And the third part is how I was explaining scientists, how they are balling up spirituality and ancient teachings and all the ancient stuff, and the stuff that doesn't work within the scientific model, the heliocentric model. All that stuff is being balled up into the manipulated version of spirit, which is the religious control grid, and they are they're locking everything into that space, and then they're gonna just throw everything out, make everything look bad completely, so everybody will rally around this new version of religion, which is the same thing that happened with in some respects in when they started spreading Christianity all over the place and telling everybody that they were savages. This is just the updated version of it, and they got technology to sell you. Technology and aliens and all this other stuff, and been priming you with movies and government this and government that, secret stuff here and there, making it a big movie for you to fall into, your curiosity and your imagination to go into and to believe this stuff. And these channelers are going to be these new ministers or preachers to bring in this common sense, this spiritual common sense. And you're going to hear this shit. He's going to say it over and over again. He's creating this version, this new age version of the Most High. And the new age version of the Most High, he even says it in here, there's no judgment. It's all basically love and light. There's no this, there's no that. You see God or whatever as a reflection of you and all your flaws and all this, but it's not. It's perfect. It's It's only love and light. And this is exactly what the controllers, the so-called powers that be, they need this. They need this frame of thought to get out of answering for, sharing all the information that's gone on in the past, and also to save their asses, and also to still remain in some kind of control grid with this new age order. And they have everything lined up. They've been priming everything for, and this is 2007 on here. Like, that's the earliest one I can see, Kryon at the United Nations. But you can see that excuse me, it's been in everything. They're playing everything in here, from these ads on the corner where they have these spiritual colleges or some sort, spiritual types of the new style of spirituality is being, with some of the old stuff. They're playing every angle, and you can see these suggested videos, the topics that are how they, it's a design, just like when you watch the news and you see just like murder, police brutality, and then they give you this upkick of a commercial. It's like, oh yeah, so as shitty as the news is, it makes the commercials better. Like, you start tapping your fingers and tapping your toes to the beat to the commercial. It just locks it in even deeper. So this is an entire code, is an algorithm, is a trend to the way they sell you stuff. And I wanted to share this video to give an example of what the new age version, like a full example of how it feels, how it sounds, how it's going to be sold to you. And I've already shown you, and you can see, like, here, see my video on how to ask the Pleiadians for light ship visitations. This is all, this is all the design of how it's gonna look once they kick this into gear. So yeah, the United Nations, Kryon, he's been channeling there for a while. This is Kryon explains what extraterrestrials in our galaxy look like. Yeah, so this is all, well, you'll see.
It doesn't make sense. It's not common sense that you would be alone. And you're not. There'll come a day when you'll know I'm correct, and it won't be what you think. This galaxy of yours teems with life. There's so much life, but it's so big and so vast. By design, you don't see it.
He already sounds like a preacher.
By design, the child sits on the beach. By design, you cannot see another beach.
Like, just imagine this.
Because the oceans don't work that way. The beaches
on
don't
TV.
show up to meet
like
with other beaches.
On CNN. It's already at the United Nations. They already got
would have to travel a vast
Leonardo
distance to see that they're
DiCaprio
wrong, that
at the United
beaches are
Nations.
Everywhere.
And Hermione.
And they're so beautiful. And if the child used common sense, they'd say the earth has to be filled with beaches because that's the way things work. That's the way the elements come together. And they create beaches, and the elements come together and they create life, just like here. The very process that created life here creates it everywhere. You're not alone. And then the child say, well, if this is so, I wonder what kinds of life there are.
Playing with the child mind.
Surely it wouldn't be like us. It'd be like odd-looking.
Just like NASA.
4 noses and 5 arms.
Just like NASA.
A few eyes hanging out of their elbows.
Sells everything to children.
The child has a vivid imagination of what other life must look like.
So this is for the adults' child mind.
Other parts of the galaxy. never using common sense. Let me tell you something. The beauty of DNA is everywhere. Everywhere. There will be the discovery of microbial life eventually in your own solar system. And when you start examining it, you're going to find.
And where's that information come from? NASA, the university system, the government. All assholes has been lying and perpetrating this whole destructive program to begin with.
And it's everywhere because the same principles of physics, of creation, of benevolence, of light and dark, of heat and cold are the same.
Physics and New Age. That's basically what he says. Simplicity, physics
is the same, and life develops
New
the
Age.
same. It's going to develop in a similar way everywhere.
Quantum physics. That's how they're going to sell this. Quantum God.
Don't be shocked.
With channelers.
When someday you will meet that which is your seed creation, those from very far away, when the time is right, when you're ready.
And these are your salespeople. Leonardo DiCaprio, messenger of peace. He for she, Emma Watson.
And when they come out to meet you, they'll be beautiful and they look just like you.
Malala.
And they won't have 4 eyes hanging out of their elbow. It's spiritual common sense, is it not?
Shakira.
There will be variety.
Stevie Wonder.
But the process is the same. The beaches look alike.
The beaches look alike.
Black sand, some have
You're
white
all
sand.
the same.
Sometimes the same.
We're all one under this creator. It's got to be sold to you. Just like you've been primed before in the great church of the Almighty Lord Almighty.
Other planets.
This ain't nothing but the same ass shit.
Expect variety, but expect similarities. Common spiritual sense is everywhere.
Common spiritual sense, alright.
But the child still asks the questions as though there were no common sense. Because sometimes the child thinks...
You say it over and over. You say it enough.
In a way that the child was taught.
That shit becomes people's reality.
Instead of having a mind that is open to common sense.
And people who are unsure about channeling to begin with...
Number 4.
Are gonna...
If there's other life.
That's already a way in. People believe it because...
timing?
It's at the United Nations. And Barack Obama has been at the United... They trust
Probably
him.
has a history much like yours.
It's bridging something very new to a lot of people.
Probably the same
Literally.
kind of history, probably the same
the New Age
timing
agenda
was involved. But the child doesn't really take into consideration the age of everything.
Well, what's the age of everything?
The child doesn't know about the grandness of those who've gone before. The child only knows of the child.
Oh.
Of the history of humanity. Doesn't go much further than that. And the assumption that the child makes is that all life everywhere pretty much has the same time duration. History. Creation. What does common sense tell you with a galaxy that is 4 billion years old? Does it tell you that all the development was the same? Or does it tell you that perhaps, just perhaps, there are planets with societies looking just like you who have been around for millions of years? And if you think out of the box and use common sense, the potential of that is overwhelming. It also shows that you have arrived just a moment ago. And that there is purpose for this. Whereas the solar system itself and the galaxy that it is within has a 4 billion year history, and humanity has only been here for a couple of 100,000 years. We said it before, dear ones. What is the sense of this? Look at this for a moment. The galaxy were a 24-hour clock. You arrived about 2 seconds ago. What are the possibilities? That there were civilizations far, far older. What are
That
the
little
possibilities?
chuckle he got in there, that just makes it like, you believe these assholes.
Because of their age and because of what you know about consciousness and the Creator, that some of them took on that which is God itself through their DNA. Through millions of years, what are the chances that what is happening here and now happened there and then?
So they
While
got
the
the
earth was forming.
athletes in here.
And if that's the case, is it common sense? It's far more common sense than thinking that everyone arrived in the last 2 seconds. And if that's the case, is it possible that they have had a part in the creation story of the planet? That you have seeds of your own biology that are mature and great and grand and millions of years old. And that this planet might even be protected in a way that gives it free choice, especially during this shift. That there are things happening here on the planet that were designed to happen for you. To give you these kinds of things. Or is that a stretch of common sense? Number 5. The child says,
Like, where'd all this other
what
stuff
is the
come
attitude
in?
of God? Does God know me?
Does God know me?
Is God pleased or not pleased?
Please.
Can I offend God?
Did I offend you, God? God,
What
did I
happened if I
offend you? The fuck, man?
And
This dude is at the
more
United
precious for me
Nations.
than anything else that I have ever done on this planet.
If you walked into City Hall and heard this shit, saw this dude sitting up there channeling,
That the human being is
saying
so
this
limited
shit,
in the
what would you
construct
think?
of their
How would you
consciousness
feel about your government?
that they have constructed God to be a human being.
Because he's already
We've
there.
said the basics before. If it were a planet of dogs, God would be a dog. If it were a planet of possums, God would be a possum.
This is
It's all you know.
linguistic coding.
And so all of the dysfunctions of humanity are placed upon the Almighty. And there's no common sense.
This is how it's been.
None at all.
Oh my goodness. Like, this
Creator of
is.
the universe.
There's no common sense there. You don't think like me, you don't have spiritual
Bigger than
common
you
sense.
can
That's what
imagine,
he's
and yet
saying.
Small enough to fit in you.
That's what the
With a
United
grand
Nations
that
is saying.
A grand that's
When they have this energy,
so
this
much more than
individual
anything
there.
you could even think of. And you have decided that there are wars in heaven and fallen angels and punishment
Yeah, speak on
and
that.
judgment.
Say something.
Is that really spiritual common sense? Or is that you in a box with God that is just like you?
This is how they throw
What is it about humanity
everything out
that
the
wants
door.
God to be dysfunctional and human?
They want a simple love. This is the shift from that destructive asshole God to this happy-go-lucky bushy white man God, bushy white beard white man in the sky. This is Santa Claus.
There's nothing you can do to displease God.
They're selling Santa Claus because they've been selling the devil,
So
and
controversial
it's in the
it
same
is because
suit,
of what
same
you
name.
constructed for yourself that you call doctrine. You have God scaring
That's what
children.
that God-fearing shit is. In the past, the old God in the religious,
Visions of
in the church,
horror when you
this is the
die.
new church. With the happy new
The
age
creator of the
God.
universe
He
loves you
cares
anyway.
about you. All those old stories about fallen angels, that's untrue. That is a reflection of the human
Most common
perspective.
sense.
Like I said, if this was a planet
You're
of
here for a
dogs,
reason, and dear
then
ones,
God
we
would
need
look
to
like a
remember things.
dog. God is not a
You're not
dog.
just here for a reason, but you're part of the puzzle.
These are
because you've got a
spiritual
soul.
salesmen.
A soul that was created by that central source. That which you call the soul is a piece and a part of the creative source that is inside you. So if you're a piece and a part of God, let me ask you something. Is it common sense that you would send yourself to hell to burn forever?
Is it common sense?
That's you with you. It's controversial. But it's common sense.
I gotta sell you this
God
shit.
is love, not hate, not judgment.
God is
The
love.
very construct of some kind of system.
Yeah, where
that you
does
would have
God,
to behave in,
the part of everything else in? That God was
tortured
everything.
forever, is so human. So human. It comes from low consciousness.
Oh,
And one that wishes to control humans and not free them. Number 6.
this doesn't sound like
The
freeing
child sits on the
humans.
beach and says, I have this life.
This reminds me of
What
context.
happens when I die?
He keeps mentioning the beach. I keep
Do I
seeing.
come for a moment in time and shine like the sun with a consciousness that loves God, and then I die?
I keep seeing that part in
All that
contact
is me was only here for a little
where,
while, and then I am dust forever.
she goes
There's no
into
more me.
that space where she disappears for only like a few seconds. She ends up on a beach
And
and
the child starts to awaken,
her dad shows up,
and the child sees many beaches.
but it's not her dad. It's some like
The child
alien.
starts to develop common sense. The child starts to feel the creator inside, actually starts to feel the consciousness of the creator inside.
The people
The
outside
child
of the
starts to assume mastery,
outside of
and the child has a big
people who are completely unaware of the new age stuff, new age agenda, the fact that it exists, will be hit like they'll be hit like what is that? I can't even think of the terminology right now. Like blindsided by this spiritual common sense version of the creator or God or whatever. And when you're blindsided, they'll get knocked out, and then they get woken up into this new world, this new age, where instead of a God that you should fear, it's a God that you should love. It's just jumping from one side to the other side. Like church, they sold God with fear in the church and old religions. Now all this stuff right here, having Kryon at the United Nations talking like this about spiritual common sense, now they're going to sell God with love. And it's just from one out of balance space to another out of balance space, and never going into the depths of everything, and these so-called powers that be are just going to slide right on out. And they're not even going to say. So they have all these individuals like Sadhguru right here. The New Age, all the other New Age channelers, all the ancient aliens. They're there to give you the nuts and bolts, the information, give these ancient astronaut theorists and these Egyptologists and these professors and all these people to give you give them a platform to give you information that backs up all this this God talk that's coming from this new version of God talk coming from the United Nations, and kind of they're gonna burn a whole bunch of these stories, and they're gonna accept some of these stories at the same time. But in the meantime, which is what part of the internet is out there for, the way it is right now, is to flood your consciousness, flood your perspectives with this whole this reality, this focus that is kind of channeling people literally into another cage. So that was pretty much it. That's I just wanted to share that as like a firm example of how the new age is going to be sold, how it's already being sold, and how it already exists within the United Nations. And I didn't even really kind of think of that whole like selling a destructive God now to like a creative God, and then not really answering for everything. But that's exactly what's going on. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, peace, love, and harmony.